We've got another piece of evidence that the Disney Star Wars brand is dead. This latest piece of evidence is the novel sales for the High Republic, Star Wars The High Republic Publishing Initiative. This information comes to us from authors Michael Gallagher and Declan Finns over at Upstream Reviews on Substack. They have a quite lengthy article here that goes into the history of the High Republic from when it was announced to looking at the numbers from the novel sales of all of the books that have been published, how they have significantly declined from the first phase to the second phase, and how they've even removed entire categories of books that they were publishing, such as young readers and middle-aged books. So let's take a look at this. This is their headline here. High Republic low sales. Sales of Disney Wars' High Republic novels have seen a huge decrease in sales since the franchise's big 2021 launch. Like I said, they spend a significant portion of the beginning of their article talking about the history of the High Republic and the characters and the character designs that were featured, the whiteboard that was shown off in the promo video for it, talking about their priorities for it, mainly diversity and representation. In fact, diversity was on there twice. But let's look at the actual sales numbers here. They got these from BookScan, Circana BookScan, which was formerly NPD BookScan. It is now Circana BookScan, one of the most accurate data tracking outlets out there. They get information from nearly 85% of all book selling retailers. That includes Amazon, Barnes & Noble, et cetera, Walmart, Target, you name it, all of like the big box stores and everything like that, the places where you would go to buy books. So they have a list here of kind of 11 novels here, but it's proving that they clearly do have this information. But let's look at this here, because this is kind of where they sum it up. They don't have all of that information in that screenshot. They have some more information here. But you can see here the first book, Star Wars The High Republic, Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule, actually seems to sell pretty well. 119,855 total hardcover books purchased, 38,208 paperbacks. Phase one, first book, did pretty well. The second most sold book is Cavan Scott's The Rising Storm, 59,779. Hardcovers, 11,008. Paperbacks, already significant decline there. And then Claudia Gray's The Fallen Star declines even further, 35,317 to 3,638. And then you have Tempest Runner, 13,914. Then you look at the young adult novels. You have Claudia Gray's Into the Dark did 58,249. I think that was the first young adult one that was out there. Another significant decline. The next one, Justina Ireland's Out of the Shadows, 22,539. And then Daniel Jose Older's A Midnight Horizon, 21,723. Apparently, there's also a box set that collects all of these. It's only sold 503, which you multiply that by 3 if you get 3 books. That's what, like 1,509? So there's that. And then these middle grade novels, 37,782 for A Test of Courage, 19,270 for Race to Crash Point, and 7,329 for Mission to Disaster. The young reader books, 13,603 for The Great Jedi Rescue by Cavan Scott, 5,337 for Showdown at the Fair, Battle for Starlight by George Mann, 3,604, and Daniel Jose Older's Trail of Shadows, 3,632. There's a couple of Star Wars reference books as well that are part of the High Republic. Christina Baber, who's like their Star Wars show host, I guess did in The Art of Star Wars, The High Republic. Phase one didn't even get 7,000 sold. And then Star Wars The High Republic, an illustrated archive by Cole Horton, only 2,867. If we look at phase two, we look at the novels, it is down significantly. 20,022 hardcovers to 1,385 paperbacks for Convergence by Zoraida Cordova. Huge difference. If we go back up and look at Light of the Jedi, 119,855, 38,208. Really big, huge decline. You see that here as well with the young adult novels. Path of Deceit by Tessa Gratton and Justina Ireland, 11,008 compared to, what was it, 58,000, I think? 58,249 for Into the Dark. So significant declines on both young adults and just regular novels, and then middle grade novels declined to 5,935 with Quest of the Hidden City by George Mann. The biggest one on that was 37,782, A Test of Courage. You'll notice that we don't even have the young reader books, and there are no reference books for phase 2, completely scrapped. The phase 1 had really bad sales for the young readers as well. They kind of do a little bit of an analysis here, basically just kind of going over those numbers. But what is interesting here is this is the big part right here. In summary, this is a 90% to 95% drop in sales between the launch with Light of the Jedi and the current High Republic novels in barely over 2 years. And then they make sure to point out, please observe that the children's book line has gone the way of the dodo. Some of these books do not even have paperbacks. And they point out these are numbers for one of the biggest IPs in history, in one of the biggest publishing markets, with one of the biggest promotional pushes behind it in recent memory. It truly is a dead brand, and bittersweet though it can be to express the thought, it deserves to be. And I think that's pretty accurate if you go back and look at the history of the High Republic, which they do in this article, where they even like introduce a character that is a rock, that is somehow a pilot of a ship. It's just an absolute joke. It's a complete and utter joke to have a rock piloting a ship, literally a rock. Come on, seriously. And then they go on here and talk about like space Vikings or the villain, the main antagonists of the entire thing. Just utterly ridiculous as well. Very overplayed out. But just kind of give a comparison on how poorly this is done. If you go back and you look at Timothy Zahn's original Thrawn trilogy, which was published in 1991, Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and The Last Command, in 2014, it had sold over 15 million copies. This was reported by Florida radio station WUWF during an interview with Zahn back in 2014. So as of 2014, it had sold over 15 million copies. And then they're reporting here that it has sold 5 million more since then, after it was jettisoned by Disney and Kathleen Kennedy. So after the expanded universe was ended, you still had 5 million more copies of the Thrawn trilogy being sold. And then a new box set of the original Thrawn trilogy released in May 2022 has sold 13,031 copies by itself. Multiply that by 3. That is about 39, something around there, 39, close to 40,000 issues, I think, around there. So it definitely is beating many of the High Republic novels out there. So what another interesting tidbit here that they point out is that the reality of these dismal sales figures isn't just restricted to the High Republic books. Since Disney's takeover of the property, only 4 books have broken 100,000 copies in sales besides the aforementioned Light of the Jedi. So even if you're looking at Star Wars books outside of the High Republic that are being published by the Walt Disney Company, only 4 books have broken 100,000 copies. 3 of those were written by Timothy Zahn, with the other book being Aftermath by Chuck Wendig. Then if you look at, they don't tell us what the Zahn numbers are. Unfortunately, I would assume that they're pretty high. It says here that 5 of them easily outsold every High Republic novel, and the 6th is only outsold by Light of the Jedi. So I think based on this other one, we know that they went over 100,000. 3 of them are over 100,000. So there you go. So even Zahn's own Star Wars books that are not High Republic are just absolutely crushing anything from High Republic. And then they also go in and say here too, it says Zahn's non-Star Wars books, including both the Cobra series and his new Icarus series, have outsold all the High Republic novels but Light of the Jedi. The same is true of other former Star Wars Expanded Universe authors such as Kevin J. Anderson's Dune novels or Michael Stackpole's Battletech novels. Unfortunately, we don't get the numbers from those, but they also say this here. Pick a well-known science fiction author. They've had a book or two outsell the High Republic novels the past couple of years. Brandon Sanderson, Sarah J. Maas, Andy Weir, David Weber, Larry Correa, V.E. Schwab, T.L. Clune, or Anthony Doerr, and even John Scalzi has better numbers. So that is how poorly the High Republic is doing, and it really isn't surprising given the fact on what they were trying to sell people on. It just looked like absolute garbage, and no one is buying it, and it doesn't look like anyone plans to be buying it anytime soon. In fact, more people are tuning out of the High Republic than are tuning in.